Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. Read the report from Ian Rappaport. Deshaun Watson suffered a season-ending shoulder surgery in the first quarter against the Ravens, and he is headed to injured reserve. It's a displaced fracture in his right glenoid in his shoulder, and he'll have surgery to repair it. Full recovery is expected. He is out for the remainder of the season.
Damn.
So, this is big, champ, because we've had prior discussions about this, and I will give you credit because you mentioned a certain individual that used to play for Cleveland. That's one Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you talked about how, and you brought up the quote, how the Browns, they wanted an adult in that locker room, and they were taking a shot at Baker Mayfield's immaturity. They brought in Deshaun Watson, given all the numerous accusations he was dealing with. They gave him $230 million. They gave up draft compensation just in order to get him. And I was looking up the stat right here. I don't know if I have it from Stat News. He has thrown 14 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions in 12 games so far with the Cleveland Browns, with a completion percentage of 59.8%.
Damn, that's worse than Cam, ain't it?
Nah, not the same.
Okay.
Is it crazy
about
to
the
say
same.
that the Texans won the trade?
Well, clearly they've won it because they have their future with CJ.
Yeah, they have future.
Yeah, they got their future.
And
so
Will Anderson.
Yeah, they already
and
won.
Will Anderson and Baker Mayfield looks pretty good in Tampa. He's already got.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No, go ahead, John.
I mean, he went out there to LA and got coaching. I mean, I keep saying this. He had 4 different coaches in his entire tenure in Cleveland. It's hard to get with 2 head coaches going into your tenure, especially as a rookie. You have 4.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the first year, and then Hugh Jackson, God bless him, but he wasn't a head coach. He'd proven that before. He's not a head coach. He's an offensive coordinator, maybe a quarterback coach at best.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that debacle. Then you have Freddie Kitchens. He comes in. He's fired in less than 2 years. Then you have Kevin Stefanski. He comes in. I mean, you're adopting something new every single year. It's like the minute you buy into one way of doing business, now you have to adopt to another way of doing business. Is that really Baker's fault? And you have to ask yourself, was Baker Mayfield getting in trouble in Cleveland? No. Was he getting the coaches fired? No. He going to the media speaking bad about his coaching? No. Was he taking accountability for bad play that he had in his last year? Although he was injured, yes, he did. Is that not adult enough? But instead, you trade for Deshaun Watson, who hadn't played for 2 years. And then on top of that, I think it was 11 games last year. So 2 years, 11 games. He still hasn't worked his way back into the groove yet. Then on top of that, I think this last game, the last drive that he had this last game against the Ravens was the best he'd ever looked in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Browns, I do think Baker Mayfield always been overhated. I never really understand the criticism. I think he always had a negative aspect from the media since he came out of college, because like you saw what happened with him and Colin Cowherd. They had their beef, and like even now people still talking about he's trash, this, that, and the other. They don't really acknowledge the positive of Baker Mayfield and what he actually did for the Cleveland Browns. So, because when he first got there, they was 0-16, and how many games they win champ his rookie year?
They were like 7, 8.
7 and 8, and they didn't even let Baker play until the second half of the season.
Exactly. So it's like a big turnaround, and obviously his second year.
He didn't start until week 3. That was the Thursday night game against the New York Jets, and Tyrod Taylor ended up getting hurt. Baker Mayfield comes in. Baker Mayfield, before Justin Herbert, he had the most touchdown passes by a rookie, surpassing Peyton Manning's record. And again, here's the stats right here for Deshaun Watson. A passer rating of 81.7, little over 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 12 games for the Browns in his career. And again, with the 59.8% completion percentage. So,
can I piggyback on something real quick?
Go ahead, Champ.
Can you imagine the criticism that any other quarterback would be getting right now with a contract like that? Can you imagine the criticism that Kirk Cousins would get right now if he had that Cleveland Browns defense and he didn't get the job done like he was supposed to? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if Josh Allen had that defense, Aaron Rodgers had that defense, and they wasn't doing anything and they weren't delivering with a contract like that?
I mean, he did getting it done. I mean, they're winning games, and he got it done last game. And he
regardless of you winning games, you have to put up the numbers.
I mean, he is putting.
And you have to at least look great. He hasn't looked, like I said, that last drive that he had against the Baltimore Ravens that led them to the game-winning field goal. That was arguably the best he's looked in since I think
that
2020.
Tennessee game.
Yeah,
his best game was that Tennessee game. That was
oh yeah, for sure.
I agree. He also been playing injured, so like I'm not like he hasn't been playing the best. No, has he been playing completely terrible? No, I think he's fine. He's just right as soon as he got his rhythm, unfortunately he gets hurt, and like he finally got continuity with the team, the defense. And last year he didn't. The other year he didn't play. He missed half the season, so I didn't really judge him fully based off that his first season of the Browns because he only played like 5 games, 6 games, 8 games. I forgot how many. And this season, I was expecting him to be. I didn't like when people say he's going to come back as a top 10 quarterback. I disagree with that because 1, the quarterback field just gotten better, and 2, you took 2 years of football. If you take 2 years off from anything, you're going to have time to like get back to it or like find your rhythm because you see he still can pass the ball, but his pocket awareness isn't the same, and his like processing is the same because you took those 2 years off. So like you still had the ability to throw, but it's the intangibles he kind of lost in those 2 years. If that makes sense. Whereas like in Houston,
Kenny, the question goes to you. Do you it's obvious that the Browns made a mistake for Deshaun Watson. Do you think that the Browns season is over?
I gotta look at the rest of their schedule to see who they play, but
they got the Steelers this upcoming week.
I think are they at Cleveland or they're in Pittsburgh?
No, they're at Cleveland, and the Browns are 1.5 point favorites.
I really do feel like that the Browns defense carry that team because the Browns defense did carry that win against the 49ers. So I really just feel like it just goes down to the Browns defense at the end of the day because, they don't have Chubb. They don't got Watson now. So it's really just all up to their defense.
Mm-hmm. And this would actually be a great case for Myles Garrett because he's got 11 sacks this season. Cleveland's defense has been great. Champ, you can make a case he's the leading favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett.
This year,
Is he the best defender in the league this year? In your opinion?
Yeah, going down.
I think he's the best defensive player in the league.
It's not debatable. I mean, it's them or TJ.
Harrison, is the Brown season over with the injury?
Brown season over? I don't think so. I still like what Kenny said. They still have a top 5? What is it? Top 5 defense? Am I not mistaken? Yeah. I mean, I think because like the quote says, defense wins championships, right? I mean, I think I'll say it's not over just yet, but I think it might end soon though.
They're 4th in team defense.
Yeah, I was right. Top 5.
Yeah. Brandon.
It's been over with. Season been over with. I had them going last in the division. So yeah, like they got the great defense and stuff like that, but I already knew that Watson was gonna plan out because we haven't seen that man in over a year. We didn't see how he was gonna play and stuff. Trying to find out he can't play. He was kind of mid. So yeah.
I wouldn't rule out the Browns just yet. They're still playing football left to play.
Yeah, DTR on that roster.
Yeah, DTR on that roster.
Yeah, he is.
So, I mean, it's going to be tough But Cleveland's defense, I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to with the quarterback. We all know in today's game the quarterbacks. But I think for Cleveland, if they actually pulled this off without Deshaun Watson,
that explains a lot about their
It's all
defense.
gonna be on their defense. And on if you guys didn't hear about it, Joe Flacco has been working out with the Browns.
yeah, I
recently,
read
so-
from Ian Rappaport. So if they bring, I don't know, Flacco at this point, he's not going to do much given the fact he's 38.
Okay,
I
PSP,
mean,
can I ask you a question? Would you
Sure.
rather trust DTR, a rookie from UCLA, or do you rather trust a veteran named Joe Flacco who knows how to get the job done? I mean, I think I believe in Joe Flacco more than DTR.
But do you
because we
trust his
saw him-
durability history?
I like DTR.
I think I'd rather trust Joe Flacco because I'd rather trust Joe because DTR. I mean, we saw him against Baltimore. That dude was awful.
He got, yeah, that was bad.
He got railed, fucking railed. But I think I'd rather trust Joe Flacco because he still has Amari Cooper. I mean, I think he still has an arm left in him, so I'm not gonna give up on Joe Flacco. I'm not gonna give up on Joe Flacco if he can play. Not like probably next week. And I've been hearing about Kim. He wants to come back too. He might come back to Cincinnati.
Champ, before we move on to CJ Stroud, do you think that the Browns should acquire Joe Flacco?
I think they should, just as a safety net, just in case, because, with DTR, he did look pretty horrible in that Baltimore game. And he can make a few plays here and there in order to kind of keep you in it, like I said, and I use that term here and there very, very loosely, I would say. But as long as they have that top 10 defense and that defense holds up this end of the bargain, you still have Kareem Hunt there. He can get you a few yards on the ground, not to mention the other running back that they have there. You're going to have to lean heavily on those guys. They're going to have to dick and dunk and rely heavily on their defense. I don't think that the season is necessarily over for them as long as that defense can get the job done, because if you look at their schedule over the course of the next few weeks, I mean, outside of the Steelers, after the Steelers, they have the Broncos, Rams. Then after the Jags, then they have the Bears.
So, I mean, it's not a bad schedule.
The Broncos one is probably interesting one, Champ, because
lately
they've won 3 consecutive games. They beat the Packers, they beat the Chiefs, and they also beat the Bills. So that could be pretty interesting.
It could be, but I think that once that defense gets in front of Russell, he gonna ball up like an ant. So I mean, so I think they got a chance of beating the Broncos, they have a chance of beating the Rams, and they have a pretty big chance of beating the Bears. So not to mention they have the Jets and the Bengals without the Jets and the Bengals going down the stretch. So remember, it's a big if is Aaron Rodgers going to come back. And, the Bengals are without Joe Burrow on that last game of the season. So I think they got a pretty good chance of still making it at this point.
All right.